In my first year of college, I had a really hard time understanding how the library worked. I remember sitting in one of my first year classes and we'd been brought to the library and I was supposed to be researching. And I remember thinking, ugh, I can learn this later. I'd rather be napping right now. It took several of these sessions before I even started understanding the setup and the immense capabilities that the library resources had to offer me. So, of course, when I became a professor, I was excited, passionate about getting students to understand these resources and how to use them faster than I did. And in order to do that, I developed an analogy. This analogy takes place in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In Colorado Springs, there's a bar. And inside the bar is 7 different bars. It is so cool. So you enter and they route you through the same place. Everybody enters through the same bar. And this is the popular bar. You know, everybody's wearing, tight clothing and they're blaring Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, or Kesha, and everyone, everyone's dancing and it's dark and there's lights flashing. But if you keep walking, you end up in this really bright lit place with wood floors and a wood gazebo in the middle. And they're playing something like Sweet Home Alabama. It's kind of like a country 80s type bar. And then in the background, there's a place where you can sit and just hear the music but not have to dance. That's a third space. And you walk upstairs and all of a sudden you're in a jazz club. Big red leather chairs, a place for a quartet, a fireplace. It's awesome. You walk through that space and you end up at this tiny little bar in the hallway, sort of like a quick to-go area. And then you come to the karaoke bar where there's big glass soundproof walls and someone is singing reruns of Neil Diamond or Bad Grease duets. And then finally you get all the way back to the last one, and this is the Masquerade Bar, and this one's my favorite. People are dancing to the Bee Gees or Michael Jackson, and there's a disco ball turning. The reason that I like to think of this place is that the library has these big things called providers. And those are similar to the big bar itself. But then inside of the providers are multiple databases, or like the individual bars that I described. The library doesn't just have one of these. They have multiple of them. So think of like a whole block filled. EBSCOhost, Sage, JSTOR, ProQuest. Those are just some of the big sort of institutions on this block. And then inside, they're set up sort of differently. So EBSCOhost, I think, is similar to the bar I described, and where they're big and then they have multiple different types of diverse parties going on inside. Whereas Sage is sort of just like a big old warehouse and lots of really cool stuff is happening in there and it's gigantic. So if you enter EBSCOhost, the first place they route you is called Academic Search Premier. And this database is really similar to the bar where they're playing Kesha and you can't really see anything. Everybody enters through this place. But if you go up to the thing that says Choose Databases, you're able to see that EBSCOhost doesn't just have 7 parties inside of it. It's got a whole bunch, everything from health to gender to the environment. And like I have a favorite bar, I also have a favorite party inside of EBSCOhost. My favorite is called Communication Mass Media Complete. So like with the bar, in order to get in, you have to pay a cover. But unlike a party where you're paying $5 or $7, these resources are incredibly expensive. You have to pay lots of money to have access to these journals and these articles. Now, Google Scholar does offer you some access, but for one article, so we're not talking access to one party. We're just talking one tiny article. It would be like listening to one song in the bar. They charge upwards of $30 just for access to that one article. But the library, this is the best part. The library has paid your way. When you roll up to one of these providers and say, hey, can I come in? And they say, oh, nope, sorry. You say, oh, I'm with the library. I'm with Concordia. And the bouncer says, oh, come on in. You may have seen the bouncer when you're, at home and you try to log onto the library and that thing comes up and it says, oh, you don't have access. You got to enter your password. That's where you're saying like, oh, yeah, I'm with the library. Paid your way. So you have access to all of these providers, databases, and thousands of articles and journals inside of them.